A very good evening to you all and welcome to the English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. We believe that you had a great commencement of the week. We are glad to have you with us. Let's begin with the top stories of the day. U.S. delegation in Rwanda explored investment opportunities following National Prayer Breakfast. Religious leaders and churches believe that offering sound counsel to couples is a key approach to addressing the conflicts that affect families today. On the international scene, Donald Trump sworn in as the 47th President of the United States on Monday. My name is Olive Nathan. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now let's dive in the full bulletin. Religious leaders and churches believe that offering sound counsel to couples is a key approach to addressing the conflicts that affect families today. President Paul Kagame has encouraged them to take a proactive role in resolving these challenges. We have details. Some residents identify the primary causes of conflicts within families and urge that a lasting solution be found.
These conflicts include issues such as infidelity and drunkenness within families. When these occur on both sides, whether by the woman or the man, they create further conflicts.
During the National Prayer Breakfast, President Paul Kagame urged religious leaders and churches to take a proactive role in addressing these challenges faced by the Rwandan community, emphasizing that strong families are the cornerstone of the national development.
Families that face certain traumas, including even young couples who have been married for just a few months and don't yet have children, are experiencing many challenges. We often hear about cases of conflict, divorce, and more. If we want to fulfill our responsibilities, whether as leaders of various denominations offering teachings on these issues, we must remember to use these teachings effectively to address the challenges facing the Rwandan community. We need to employ every possible means to reduce the obstacles in our society. The role we play as leaders, whether government leaders or religious leaders, is crucial in addressing and reducing these issues within us and our families.
Religious leaders have committed to intensifying their efforts in teaching principles that foster a stable and peaceful Rwandan community.
I believe that various denominations have Sunday school programs that teach children, and they also have a large number of young people. These groups should contribute significantly to teaching couples about marriage and how it should truly be done. However, it is often the case that these teachings are only provided once a week. As the wedding day approaches, it is practically impossible to teach about respect, love, and the fulfillment of responsibilities in just the final week before our marriage.
One of the consequences of unstable family dynamics is that some children adopt negative behaviors. According to current statistics from the Rwanda Correctional Service, 90% of the children incarcerated there have parents, many of whom live in conflict. The Rwandan judiciary also reports that in the year 2022-2023, more than 3,000 divorces were granted to legally married couples. Tomorrow News, members of the Parliament have urged the Ministry of Local Government to enhance its oversight of community issues and address them directly without the need to involve multiple institutions. This call was reiterated by the Committee on Governance and Gender Affairs during discussions with the Ministry on the 2023-2024 report of the Office of the Ombudsman. Prince Manzi has more on this.
The report from the Office of the Ombudsman indicates that a total of 1,587 complaints were received, including 1,100 through the Community Feedback and Readiness Program in the 7 districts visited and 487 submitted in writing to the Ombudsman. Of these complaints, 979 have been resolved, while 608 are still being addressed by the relevant authorities. During discussions, members of the Committee on Governance and Gender Affairs in the Parliament inquired with the Ministry of Local Government about the necessary steps to effectively resolve these issues. Honorable Minister, we would like to understand what is missing in addressing the complaints filed with the Ombudsman Office and local authorities. What is preventing these issues from being resolved in a timely manner? It often happens that during the President's citizen outreach, these problems are referred to the relevant institutions but the follow-up on them appears to be ineffective. These mechanisms of resolving conflicts within families, such as community engagements, organizing family evening programs, and more, are in place. However, what is limiting sustainable productivity or tangible results? The Minister of Local Government, Dr. Patrice Mugenzi, states that some residents remain dissatisfied with the way their issues are being addressed, which is why they are bringing their concerns to multiple relevant authorities.
Birashoboka yuko nkuko wenda nabijana n'ibibazo honorable Mvana yavuze 630 bingahe.
It is possible that some issues have been resolved, as Honorable Mvano pointed out, with about 660 cases. I cannot deny that in the Rwanda community we have not yet fully embraced the idea that a problem has been definitively resolved. It often happens that after a problem has been addressed and things have been set in order, when another authority takes over, the same issue resurfaces, and people feel the need to push the same issue again and again. The Minister of Local Government cited the example of a child who had a dispute with his father over civil status. Despite the father accepting the child, funding his education, assisting him in finding a job, and even helping him start a family, the child continues to sue his father for allegedly not adhering to the court's rulings.
The
same individual is texting the minister stating that his father has failed to adhere to the court's rulings. He is currently 35 years old, which is why I mentioned that they keep pushing. I say this because I have been closely following the situation. I even called the father and the mayor of that district. The father has fulfilled his responsibilities, but the child is still complaining. If I don't respond, the child will continue bringing this case up repeatedly, and I'll be called back here, even though the issue has already been addressed. The Ministry of Local Government highlights several challenges facing families, including the prevalence of cohabiting families without legal recognition and the lack of awareness about law governing persons and families among the population. To address these issues, the ministry proposes increasing the activities of family support networks and organizing parents' evenings as key measures to provide solutions for the community.
Thank you, Prince, for the details. Now, moving ahead, a delegation of U.S. citizens who were in Rwanda for the annual National Prayer Breakfast visited various institutions to explore ways of attracting investors from their country to invest in Rwanda. Prince Manzi once more.
It is a delegation of 23 people led by Pastor Laurent Muvunyi of Restoring the Hope Foundation.
Twabashe kuvugana n'abantu batandukanye abashoramari n'abaterankunga mu gihugu cya.
We were able to reach out to various investors from the US and some from Singapore. We are here to support some of the vulnerable families identified and provide support in the education sector in these 2 weeks. Some of these investors are interested to invest in Rwanda, especially in sports business and NGOs towards development.
Profit organization kugira ngo bakorane n'ibigo bitandukanye bya leta.
Dr. Rick Snyder, who is part of the delegation, affirms that among their plans is the establishment of a center of excellence in leadership within this region Rwanda is located in.
And of course our goal is to bring groups like this one on a regular basis to do random acts of kindness to help the community. But our overall big picture is to build a leadership training center where we train the leaders that can impact the local communities, not just in Rwanda, but all of East Africa, bringing people here, training them, sending them back home with proper trained leadership skills. And, the caveat or the bonus is we're going to bring groups here from the United States to do random acts of kindness and see the country, see what we're doing. Hopefully they'll be involved both prayerfully and financially.
As part of efforts to attract and promote talented individuals in various sports, one of the group members, 74-year-old Mike Hitz, a former basketball player, stated that they plan to identify youth who meet the physical and intellectual requirements for the game and train them in the NBA
So if you're 2 meters or 10 bigger, then we are looking for you to come to the United States to play basketball or come back and play in the professional team in Rwanda.
Good.
And get a good education and do that. Rwanda is this unbelievable. The people are so friendly, it's so clean, and they want to get better and everything. It's a different, and we feel very safe here. And that's why we love the country. And that's why we're coming back here and do work for you.
The delegation came into Rwanda for the annual prayer breakfast. During their 2-week stay in Rwanda, they plan to visit various tourist attractions, including the Volcanoes National Park.
Let's stay here.
Thank you, Prince, for the details. Now to the healthcare industry. Healthcare professionals across the African continent have emphasized the urgent need for collaborative efforts to eliminate neglected tropical diseases which pose significant threats to human health, particularly among pregnant women and young children. In this context, Rwanda is currently hosting a 3-day conference aimed at advancing research and strategies to combat these debilitating diseases. Enora Gladys has more.
Medical Center reports that a study on neglected tropical diseases has identified over 6,000 patients in Rwanda diagnosed with podoconiosis who are receiving treatment at various healthcare facilities. Furthermore, the study reveals that 48% of adults in Rwanda are affected by intestinal worms, while 41% of children are also impacted. Health professionals emphasize the effectiveness of deworming tablets for children, highlighting their significant role in improving health outcomes.
Symptoms include poor appetite, where a child may refuse to eat or appear nauseous when they do eat. After receiving the prescribed tablets, children often show an improvement in their appetite. Parents report significant positive changes, thanking us for the tablets and requesting that we continue providing them. This is why we focus on sensitization efforts, going into the field, and collaborating with various health centers to spread awareness. We also utilize radio broadcasts to inform parents, encouraging them to bring their children for treatment, which has proven to be highly beneficial.
There are some of the key insights shared by Rwanda with participants at an international conference focused on research into neglected tropical diseases in Africa. Dr. Aimable Mbituyumuremyi, the division manager of malaria and other parasitic diseases at the Rwanda Biomedical Center, where neglected diseases are closely monitored, underscores the severe consequences of these diseases.
Big block of around 21 diseases. But the most common in Rwanda include STH. These are intestinal worms, but also we have those we call schistosomiasis, we have podoconiosis and many others. But those three are the one which are most common in Rwanda. Addressing STH and schistosomiasis, for Rwanda we are implementing mainly the mass drug administration, consisting of giving drugs to the entire population by targeting the most affected, mainly the under 15. But also adult in high burden zones. This is number one around MDA, but also educating communities around prevention, because those diseases are linked to poor sanitation, no access to water, and what we do is just collaborating with the different institutions so we can have access to clean water, toilet, but also people behave properly.
Globally, 1.2 billion people are affected by 21 neglected tropical diseases. However, in Rwanda, only 9 such diseases remain, with the goal to eliminate them by 2030. Dr. Mosoka Papafala, Acting Director Science, Research and Innovation, Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, commends the significant progress being made across Africa in the fight to eliminate these neglected diseases.
It's called neglected tropical disease all because it's a disease of the poor, the disempowered. No. There's one thing I've noticed in Rwanda and other countries. I've seen when a country has target, realistic target, when it has what we call a whole of government approach, with all of the partners collaborating, they can definitely achieve it. It's possible, it's achievable. The drugs are there, they have been proven model. Like the mass drug managed to eliminate premature death among children because we've done research in vaccines. Today we know that the number of deaths from cancer and other chronic diseases has reduced because of research. And because research helps to answer the questions that we need. We need research to be able to identify potential drugs.
Among the neglected diseases in Africa is trachoma, the leading cause of preventable blindness. Health experts are gathering in Rwanda for a 3-day conference to discuss the latest research and developments on neglected tropical diseases. These diseases pose a significant global health threat, affecting more people than malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis combined.
Welcome back. You're still watching RTV News. Now let's take a look at what is happening beyond the borders of Rwanda. On Monday, President Donald Trump, sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. In his inaugural address, President Donald Trump has proclaimed America's decline is over as he vowed to act swiftly through sweeping executive action, including declaring a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border. In his inaugural address, he also said he is confident and optimistic as he returns to the White House with a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal, referring to the last 4 years under his predecessor, Joe Biden. Following the ceremonial peaceful transfer of power, Trump said he planned to sign a series of executive orders to crack down on the border, boost domestic energy, and end government-mandated diversity programs. Trump outlined a number of steps he plans to immediately take, including sending troops to the border, declaring some gangs and drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and reinstating the controversial remain in Mexico that requires that migrants wait for their asylum proceedings on the Mexican side of the border. Earlier, incoming Trump administration officials outlined dozens of executive orders to the president-elect planned to take when he officially takes office, including 10 focused on what one official described as common sense immigration policy. Officials also say that Trump plans to end birthright citizenship, meaning that the children of undocumented migrants living in the U.S. will no longer automatically be considered U.S. citizens. Birthright citizenship, however, is enriched in the U.S. Constitution and would require a 2/3 vote in both chambers of Congress to change. The official provided no further detail on how Trump plans to accomplish this. In Trump's speech, the first of his second administration, he also promised a complete overhaul of the U.S. trade system and the declaration of a national energy emergency, which officials said earlier would address the high cost of energy for consumers. Trump had previously said he would impose new tariffs on goods entering from the U.S. from Canada, Mexico, and China on his first day in office. His fiery remarks also included a promise to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, as well the tallest mountain in North America, Denali, to Mount McKinley, its name until it was changed by President Barack Obama in 2015. He also repeated promises to take back the Panama Canal, which he claims is treating U.S. ships unfairly and being operated by China. Incoming officials also say that Trump plans to end the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion inside the government, and make it official policy that the U.S. recognizes two sexes, which is male and female. Trump officially became president at noon local time, 1700 GMT, at the U.S. Capitol. He was expected to begin signing orders shortly thereafter. The inaugural address will be followed by a luncheon, parade, and a series of inaugural balls in the evening. About 20,000 people are expected at the parade, which was moved inside the Capitol One Arena over the weekend due to concerns over frigid temperatures that swept across Washington, D.C. The crowd is just a small fraction of the approximately 220,000 ticketed guests who were expected to watch the event from the grounds of the U.S. Capitol. Now, moving ahead, on Monday morning, a desk had been set up in the center of the arena, which have speculated could be used to sign executive orders in front of his supporters, and this is part of the inauguration ceremony. Now, moving ahead, Syria's new leadership, Sunni Muslim, like most Syrians, works to consolidate power. Many minority groups in the country fear they may be left behind. VOA has the details.
Outside an Armenian service in Aleppo, worshippers tell us they fear Christians will be oppressed under the new conservative Sunni Muslim government in Syria. They say many of their neighbors have left, and the local justice system is currently being run by experts in Islamic law. They are waiting anxiously to see what will happen next. In this Damascus neighborhood, made up mostly of Alawite residents and former soldiers of the fallen regime, things changed swiftly after the rebels took over.
We were soldiers, and when the regime fell, we were all considered retired. Now, we sell things on the street to feed our families.
Alawite is the minority religious sect of the fallen dictator Bashar al-Assad. As the government collapsed, officials based in this neighborhood were arrested, and many residents fled to the countryside. People here say they fear they will be unfairly associated with the regime because of their religion and former jobs. Some conflict is already happening. Since Hayat Tahrir al-Sham led rebels to take power last month, there have been reports of reprisal attacks, including kidnappings of HTS soldiers. And in the southern city of Sweda, home to many members of the Druze ethnic and religious group, local forces are holding on to the weapons Druzes used to help HTS take Damascus. Residents say for now they want their local security forces to control the area.
So far, we haven't seen anything showing that a united country will happen. There is nothing like that. I wish for a country that is united, with justice, and where everyone has rights.
If a single government that respects civil and religious rights emerges in Syria, Sheikh Hikmat al-Hijri, the spiritual leader of Druze in Syria, says his people will volunteer to turn in their weapons. But he says that time has not yet come.
As individuals and groups in Syria, we need to feel there are laws to protect people's rights. This is a temporary stage, a stage of vacuum, a stage where there is no government.
Syria has many other ethnic and religious minority groups. Many among them are wondering if the new leadership will be as inclusive as it has promised. Heather Murdoch, VOA News, Aleppo, Syria.
The story brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of our top stories. U.S. delegation in Rwanda explored investment opportunities following national prayer breakfast. Religious leaders and churches believe that offering sound counsel to couples is a key approach to addressing the conflicts that affect families today. On the international scene, President Donald Trump sworn in as the 47th President of the United States on Monday. And this marks the end of today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a productive week ahead. Stay safe and take care.